Lately, we've been doing a lot of tractor research because we know we'll need to get more equipment on the land soon. But it's such an investment that we want to make sure that we take our time and do our research. Of course, it's helpful to ask others too, so one of our friends put us in touch with a neighbor named Andy who has a lot of experience with tractors, seeing that he grew up on a farm in the area and tinkers with making and fixing vehicles and equipment. He stopped by one day and pulled up in literally the craziest vehicle we had ever seen.
So bizarre.
It definitely made us want to see what else he had in store.
We'll take my new car because it's the only car I have that holds more than 2 people. Pontiac Grand Prix with 35,000 original miles on it. I haven't even washed it yet. Crank windows.
Oh, I love the crank windows.
Car that'll last forever. Let me show you the trunk. So it's close to 40 years old, this car. It's always been inside. I'm the 3rd owner.
Oh my God, look at the trunk.
I mean,
It's spacious.
it's never been dirty.
Oh my God. They don't make trunks like this anymore.
We can all 3 fit in the front. Here, you can drive.
Oh no, I can't really drive.
So this
I don't know
is
where I'm going.
This is the airstrip right here. So as you're taking off, it's just like taking off an aircraft carrier right out over that hill.
Wow.
And this is where I taught myself how to fly right here. May of 1990, before the grass grew up. I didn't even have a mower yet to mow the strip with.
I mean, did you have to get your license or did you just try to teach yourself?
I never did, I just taught myself.
Oh my goodness.
I flew for 30 years and never hurt myself. Had 3 engine failures and had 9 airplanes, did everything I wanted to do. So this is where I'd turn around to the airplane and then head out.
And then all of a sudden this car gets wings.
And then, yeah, I'm gonna hit the chitty chitty bang bang wings. And this is where you take off of the airplane.
Oh.
Whoa, let's do it.
Let's hope your grip doesn't lessen. I love the little clock tower on top of the house.
Yes. So this is where I'd usually leave the ground right there.
Oh.
And so then, you know, it's just like fly right out over this hill.
Wow.
It's just a really great airstrip. Because if you don't get off the ground,
Yeah.
the ground goes out from under you.
Yeah.
This car's got 35,000 original miles. So this has been a junkyard. I started this junkyard when I was 13. And for all my life, I've brought in cars and hauled them back out for scrap and
Yeah.
paid for the,
Using parts and stuff like that.
yeah, to build more vehicles with.
Yeah. How many vehicles do you reckon that you've made in your life?
A lot. I don't know, that's a good question. Probably, I don't know, I'm sure it's over 20.
Yeah. This is like not the car I would typically think about taking into the woods.
Four-wheeling?
Like off-roading.
Oh yeah, well it's comfortable, you know, no
It
sense
is.
in beating
It is
yourself
like-
up.
It's like a couch. It seriously is like a couch.
It's like it's a couch cruiser.
Now this is the place you grew up.
Yeah,
at, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's fun.
My
You
grandfather.
really know it.
Yes, every inch. My grandfather bought this farm in 1943.
So are like your family members like all dotted on the land, or
Yeah.
is it just like friends or?
No, my brother, my 2 sisters, myself, and my mom and dad have been living here for
Wow.
you know all these years. So it's nice because there's plenty of room to branch out.
Yeah, absolutely.
We get the perfect amount of space, and yet we're together all at the same time.
Yeah. How did you get the big workshop house on the hill?
Well, I was 39, and I was at that stage in life where I could afford it. Something I'd always wanted. It's 40 by 60 feet.
Yeah.
I always wanted a 40 by 60. I had airplanes at the time, so to put that big 40-foot wide bifold door in there so I can get airplanes in there, that was kind of nice. But also I was working with elephants a lot, and I was hoping to bringing an elephant here.
Oh my goodness.
So I call it my elephant barn. That's why it's got the rubber floor.
Yeah.
And I built it just in case I didn't get an elephant, that I could utilize it for what I am. So this is the first time this car has been down through here.
Oh, what? I thought you drive. I think you drive through this all the time.
I got this car last week.
Oh my God.
I paid $1,000 for this.
Wow, that's a steal. $1,000? You can't even buy $1,000 for a couch, and that's what you got.
Yeah,
couch
right?
with wheels.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm thrilled to death.
Yeah.
It drives like a brand new car.
Where did you find it? On like Facebook Marketplace?
Facebook Marketplace,
oh my
yeah.
God. See, Facebook Marketplace. It's like the new Craigslist.
Oh, it's great.
I definitely have personal sweat left in that car. Cola truck is so cool.
So I built that one in 2016. That's the truck I make my living with. There's a lot more to it than meets the eye. That bed's a roll back, a roll off. It's a dump truck. It has a tow stinger out the back. It's got a gas station on board.
Oh my God.
See this tow boom here pulls out. That pulls out and you can tow cars behind there. This bed here, this is the hoist that stays on the truck. This is the bed that slides right off. You can pull away from it and put something else on.
Wow.
It's also 8.5 feet wide, so it's 8 feet on the inside, so I can put a van box inside the bed or replace it with a van box.
Yeah. And these are just like, is it just plywood?
Yeah.
Or just like pallet boards?
Yes, yes. See, you do recognize that stake?
Yeah.
You get them for free.
Yeah.
This is just plywood.
Yeah.
And my sister's pretty creative with a paintbrush, so she taught me how to do this. Now, she did this side at the same time I did that side with them laid out where we can see each other. And you can see, if you look at the two of them, the difference in the artist. Hers, you can't tell that it's not real wood.
Right,
The knots. And then on my side, I have a different, I wanted a little more.
Oh, you were like, just like.
I wanted that. You know, I like the sketch.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not trying to make it look real. I kind of wanted a little more action.
That's funny.
Now see, I tried a knot back here. I didn't really enjoy it.
I see.
I let the knot thing go.
Yeah.
I was just into doing, you know.
Like wavy lines.
Yeah.
Little undulation.
Yeah, and I wanted my board seams to be a little sketchy.
Oh, I see.
Whereas hers are, you can't tell hers aren't real boards.
Yeah.
And I tried another knot here and I didn't really care for it. So these fuel tanks, they're 50 gallons each. I got enough fuel on board to go 1,000 miles with this.
Holy crap.
I've been to California twice with it. So I take my sand car with me, which a 32 Ford Coupe sand car that I built. When I get down to half tanks, I push all this fuel into this fuel tank.
Is that what these little knobs are for?
These are valves. I've got this tank isolated right now, so I'm only running off in this tank. So once I push all this fuel into this tank, and this one's empty, I isolate it with this valve, and then I fill it up with 50 gallons of gasoline for my sand car instead of diesel fuel.
Yeah.
And then when I get to the dunes, then I've got, I've got 15 foot of hose here, and I can fill up the fuel tank on the sand car. Or I can fill up my backhoe with diesel. It's really just kind of nice.
A built-in gas station.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So this is the one you're talking about?
Yeah. This is the one that we saw you pull up in.
So this is what I call my Cowboy Cabin. That truck inside there.
Yeah. That's your workhorse.
Well, the big one to the right, that's also got a cabin on the back.
Oh, okay.
And that truck I built first, and that one's been to California as well. It's so great in this country, the fact that we can travel for so far.
So far.
With no obstructions along the way.
I know, and it's so funny because like, Sonder is like, okay, so how far away is this? I'm like, 4 hours. He's like, we'd be in France.
Right.
Yeah, the place from the Netherlands, you know, you'd be in a whole other country, you know? Yeah.
So I love that because I love to go cross country, long distance, and you can just, that's why this has a 1,000-mile fuel capacity. This one's got a 1,500-mile fuel range. So here's a fuel gauge on this one. You can see I've got exactly 20 gallons in it. The sight tube, airplane technology.
So funny.
So this is called the Air Coupe. Now Air Coupe is the name of a really cool airplane. It's an air-cooled engine, and the shift stick that you shift the gears with is, maybe you can see it better from this side, is a joystick out of a P-51 Mustang, Second World War fighter plane. Summer, you should sit in that driver's seat and put your hand on that. It's got the machine gun triggers on it and everything.
That's crazy. Oh my God. That's hilarious. And scary at the same time.
And it's got a wear pattern on it. That thing's had a lot of flight time on it.
Oh yeah.
I pulled it out of a Piper Super Cub tow plane that they're towing banners with, and had been abandoned, so I was able to get it.
Unbelievable. It's quite cozy in here. What got you into like making these things? You just like, and when did you start doing it?
When I was probably 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I had
did you just like tinker with it?
Well, I had the plastic models,
Oh, I see.
which I still have.
Yeah.
And they're all the same, early 30s
Yeah.
design. And so I learned about the different components to the engine and the chassis and the body tub and the fenders and all that kind of stuff with the plastic models. So when I started doing this, it's really the exact same process.
Yeah, just in a larger scale. But then you started to pull things from like plane engines and buses and everything, and you just kind of mashed it all up together.
So in the earlier days when I was building cars, I usually built stuff that looked like something that had once been built.
Mm-hmm.
Like that 32 Ford Coupe in the barn there. That looks like something that had been built, production. I mean, it does have some modifications. It's got Toyota pickup truck running gear in it, so it's a driver. It'll go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I did extend the hood maybe 6 or 7 inches longer than standard. But when I broke out of that, trying to make things look like something that had been built and started building stuff that looks the way I want it to look, that became so much more fun to express my own artistic, feeling to the vehicle.
No, but these are called like rat rods, right? So they're called something. So it must mean like people make things that look like this, or is it a style of?
That's funny. The rat rod term is a newer term. That's maybe, 20 years old or whatever. And people ask me, is that a rat rod? I'm like, well, I don't know. I said, I've been building shitty cars all my life. Call it whatever you want. But, they call them rat rods because, some of the builders make them so fancy. And it's a lot of, I can build a car with this much work. Mm-hmm. To make a fancy car, it's like this much work. And so it became this thing where not as talented of people just started building something that works. Mm-hmm. That's not fancy, it's just, they call it a rat rod.
Right.
The fun to work ratio is so much better. And I don't have to worry about kids sliding down my fenders. It's not shiny, it's not fancy, and they're drivers, and I'm having a good time with it. Yeah. And it's so much less work. And so the term rat rod is kind of a newer thing.
Yeah.
Some people that build rat rods, they know more of the criteria in which they want to see in a rat rod, whereas I just build my own thing.
Yeah. Well, it's so steampunky because it's like you could see a lot of the parts just kind of out there in the open.
Yeah.
It has its own allure to that too.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how I put it together.
Yeah. It's really great. I mean, because
I use the ass of a horse and the face of a monkey.
I mean, this shaft right here was my grandfather's inventory right here. And so he had his hands on this. Mm-hmm. The front grill shell where the winged woman is, that's off my dad's 1937 Buick funeral wagon. Him and my mom went on her honeymoon with that. So, it's just kind of cool stuff. And then this is a piece of trampoline hoop. This is a Craftsman table saw leg.
You can totally see the Craftsman table saw leg now. Yeah.
And so, it's kind of fun putting stuff like that together.
Yeah.
And then the suspension and steering and brakes and stuff that I'm using is like a Buick Roadmaster. So it rides and handles and brakes and all that.
So, I mean, are these cars like properly inspected? Like, do you have to take them into the inspection?
Well, I don't have anything registered.
Yeah.
I drive them all, but I have a transporter plate. So one size fits all. I just put my transporter plate on it and drive it. So, but if I didn't have the transporter plate, I'd probably register them in Florida where there's no inspection state anyway. Yeah. But if I wanted to register them here, I would just get them inspected.
Yeah.
I mean, they would pass inspection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could only see the person saying, "What the hell is this?"
This one is not ready to pass inspection yet because I don't even have any lights hooked up on
Yeah.
this one yet. I'm still in the process. I mean, I guess I probably never finish any of them, but at least that one's got lights and everything that it needs to do what it should do. This is a 49 Cadillac hood that I trimmed and widened and made into a sun visor that is 36 inches forward of the windshield. The hood is 10.5 feet forward of the windshield.
What are people's responses when they see this?
Well, so this is how I categorize them. When I go into a store and come out, this has 10 people around it every time. That one's got 7 people around it. So, you know, it's kind of fun. And then you meet people you'd never meet otherwise and have the greatest conversations because anybody who's interested in this stuff are good people.
Yeah,
You know.
for sure.
And the fun thing is that I'll be thousands of miles away from home with it. You know, they're like, "Oh, where are you from?" You know, I'm like, "Well," you know, because they're dependable. And like I was out in Michigan and the solenoid went bad, which is this piece to the starter.
Okay.
And so I just laid out my tools, I sat down, I changed the solenoid, just 3 bolts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy, and that's one of my criteria, and I'm building for long distance. I want it to be dependable, fuel efficient, and I want that longevity. And I choose my components. This is an International DT360. That's the big brother to this engine. That's the DT466. You can buy a rebuild kit for either one of these motors for less than $1,000.
Wow. And that's a wonderful thing. You know, my dad used to, like, he could fix cars, but now with all the computer stuff, he's like, eh. But like here, you're saying,
Yeah.
I mean, I look at this and it's like completely, but I appreciate the fact that it's just like parts that
Simple.
you could just buy and it's like
Yeah, it's
intuitive and
simple.
it's like, it empowers you.
Yes, yeah, I can manage this my own self. Here's the clutch linkage. I'm gonna activate it right now and you can see how simple that is. Now, you see the multiple holes that I put in that clutch
it's like-
lever?
yeah,
Because I didn't know how much I wanted to, luckily I was able to use the last hole, but you get less movement back there, so I wanted it to be easy. Push the clutch with your hand. You wouldn't believe how easy this clutch push is. Just reach in there with your hand and push the clutch to the floor.
This one?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's
it's
nothing.
ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? Dodge
I couldn't
Cummins.
even get a workout with that.
Yeah, Dodge Cummins is a real problem because they push so hard.
Yeah. So that's cool. So you had like these little things like a little belt loop if it needed to be tighter or whatever.
I can just move it to a different hole. If I needed more movement, I move it closer. It's geometry
Yeah.
101 right there. Same with your steering. It's all geometry. I was able to do it with one shaft and not have any obstructions in the way. This radiator's put that way just enough to have this shaft go through. If I couldn't make it, then I would put a third U-joint and make the shaft come out, U-joint, and then go back in. So like when I made my motor mounts, these motor mounts normally are mounted way down inside the frame, putting the frame up, covering everything you want to maintain. This is a piece of railroad track mounting plate right here, and I extended this out and used a Jeep mount on top of it. I mean, it's just so simple. I was coming home, I was mounting this motor, I was in St. Petersburg and I had my 32 Ford Sand Dune car, and I was on my way home thinking about how I wanted to do this, and I'm like, man, I need a piece of 1/2-inch plate. Where can I get that from? I'm like, when I get up to Wauchula, there's railroad tracks there. I'll go up the railroad tracks, I'll find a piece of mounting plate and I'll use that. So I did. Yeah, this is also railroad track mounting plate that the power steering pump hangs off from.
And when did you make this?
I built this truck originally with a big block 584 cubic inch Deutz air-cooled motor out of an irrigation pump that I brought back from California. And I ran that motor for 3 years, about 35,000 miles, and I couldn't keep a transmission on it because I did my own adapting, put a Chevy 1-ton transmission on it. So I finally took it out and I put this power plant together, which is much more balanced. This is a 6-speed Fuller with a big truck clutch in there. And so I swapped that out, and that Deutz is now pumping water again in the fields as an irrigation pump motor, and this is out of a school bus. I got this motor from Michigan.
One of the other things I obviously never see of like when your car, but you just use like boards, like 2x4s and plywoods and stuff like that.
That's why they call them running boards. And the reason they call them running boards is you run along and you jump up on the running board and you ride to the other end of town and you're there. So I was up in Amish country one day and I had my super coupe, which was a coupe like that. And so they were baling hay with a 6-horse team, 13-year-old kid driving the horses. So I parked my car on the edge of the field, and when they came to the end of the field, I jumped up on a hay wagon. I thought, this is kind of cool, I want to have this experience. And I know they're friendly enough people. So I jumped up on a hay wagon, handled some bales with them for a little while, and the baler broke. So we stopped and shut the motor. It was a gasoline engine, V-twin, Briggs & Stratton on the baler. And so the 13-year-old, he's managing the horses while they're working on the baler, and I'm petting the horses and stuff. They're all Clydesdales. And well, they needed something, so they're like, oh man, any chance you can give us a ride about 4 miles to the barn to get some parts? I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a ride. Well, it's a 2-seater cab, and they got, I don't know how many people. So the grandfather, he rode on the running board and hung onto the mirror, and he was just, on there like this, and no big deal, like riding on a hay wagon.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly think like it's the creativity, but you have to kind of know what you're looking for too, because like this looks like another world for me. But when you're thinking about and you're building this and you're like, I want this elevated so I can work on it and I need this like thing. But like you have to know that thing exists. You have to know that you could get it off a railroad or whatever. You know what I mean? And so I have an appreciation that you have this knowledge across just from tinkering with things,
It is a puzzle, and I save things from all over the country in my travels and save them for years and years and years before they ever get built, and I have inventory and stuff. So this, from here forward, is a 92 Chevy 1-ton pickup truck. So my brake, steering, and suspension is 92 Chevy 1-ton. This frame rail here is out from underneath a motorhome. I got paid $300 to take in my junkyard. I demolished the motorhome. I saved those frame rails for years. And so when I built this truck, I used them, mounted the Chevy 1-ton rear suspension and axle on the rear, and mounted my engine and set up my layout. This was a cab. I got this out of Ohio. And this was already on here.
I know, that's so funny.
Yeah.
You knocked off the Paving LLC because it was Masterpiece Paving LLC,
Right.
And now it's just Masterpiece.
Well, so I took it off the other door. I don't read that great. And so the whole time I had it, I was like, Masterpiece? What? What is this? So I was scraping it off. And I was starting to scrape this off, and a friend of mine walked in the garage, and he's like, don't scrape off the Masterpiece. I'm like, oh, is that what that says? So I left it on there, and it's become its name.
Oh my God.
It's kind of fun. Then in 2016, I built this. I just needed a project, so I started building this. This slides in and out. I've run this on this truck, too. It goes up on the back of this truck. I call it my Cowboy Cabin. Again, my sister getting creative with the paintbrush.
Yeah.
But it's really a great facility. I love the shower design. I stayed up so many nights thinking about, I wanted a nice big kitchen counter, which I have, but I wanted to have an indoor shower, but I didn't want it taking up room. So just as quick as this, so that's the size of the shower base down there, and then these panels fold out, and you've got a shower stall. Go in there, take a shower, do your thing, and when you're done, that flap there goes in, this goes in, and voila, you're back to cooking. And then the bed folds up and ties up against this wall here so I can haul freight. The same motor's what's in the front. I hauled in from Michigan in the back here, and I've had my four-wheeler in here, and so you can haul anything you want because both doors open. These steps are, I dragged in a lawnmower from alongside the road, a riding lawnmower tractor. And when I wanted some steps in here, I thought, let's see, what can I use? So these are the running boards off the garden tractor.
So you're forging things like
all the time,
blacksmithy kind of style.
I'm always looking.
Yeah.
Always scanning the horizon for resource.
Thank you, Andy. This is just a pleasure. I'm not even a gearhead, but I'm sure other folks out there who.
Do you want to take a spin? We can all.
I think we should try it, right? I mean, how often would you get a chance to go in something like this? Zero, exactly.
Yeah, sit right up there, up there on that. I'm just gonna grab it.
Trust me driving, even though I haven't driven so much. This is quite roomy. My God, I feel like I'm in a proper truck. This is great. Now I'm gonna sit right here with this between my legs.
Because
So used to these brand new car things.
Yeah.
That can handle it. It's all about the sound design of how the car door shuts.
Right. So the transmission is so far forward, I've got this linkage that goes up to it.
Yeah.
That was my brother's design. I built it, and I didn't believe in it when I built it.
Right.
And I got in here and I thought, that's not gonna work. And it works just,
It
you
totally
can't,
just
you
works,
can't
yeah.
even tell.
Yeah. So does he builds cars too?
He
then?
does.
Yeah.
He builds cool vehicles.
Do you ever collaborate on like this? Like, do you ever like collaborate on one?
What we do is the same time I built this truck, he built a truck of his version of it.
I see. Okay. Were you ever into like racing and stuff like that, or just kind of building?
I'm not in competition with anybody for any reason.
Yeah.
I like to do my own thing, and the thing I like about the sand dunes is it's not a race. It's about going there and being with people that are there and doing your own thing in the sand dunes. And when you're racing, you're pushing all the limits. You run the risk of getting hurt. You're going to damage your vehicle, and I'm more into longevity and not hurt myself.
Yeah.
I'm more into long distance, tricky stuff. You're lucky to get out there and back as it is, being careful, much less adding speed to the equation.
Right.
So I'm more into the technical trials type riding, if you know what that is. It's technical getting over this obstacle.
I see.
However you can get over it.
Right.
Slower is usually better. So I don't know if you noticed that there's 4 pedals down here
Okay.
on the floor.
Yeah.
And see, there's my throttle pedal here, and then there's this a second throttle pedal, and what that is my Jake brake. There's this mechanically actuating a butterfly valve in the exhaust pipe, and it makes the engine hold back, so it's like an engine brake. And then there's the regular foot hydraulic brakes that go into the wheels, and then of course you got their clutch. Now, a lot of trucks have Jake brakes, a lot of trucks have exhaust brakes, but I've never seen one mechanically actuated before. I like the simplicity of it.
All right, we're taking it for a spin. I mean, is this your regular car that you drive everywhere?
It is, all of them are.
It's like a horse. You have to give each one turns, you know?
That's right.
You take us to the Wegmans?
Yeah, you want to go to the Wagons now? Do you?
It's too far.
No, it's not. If you have the time, I'm here.
We should go get apple pie.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah,
let's go.
let me go back and get a plate on this thing.
Oh, okay.
Plate?
Yeah,
Like a license plate.
I don't have, nothing's registered.
That's hilarious.
Here's your engine brake right there,
Right.
Garrett.
Okay, we'll also see whether 10 people actually show up on it.
They will.
Tell me about this if you have time. And
Sure.
You're hungry to go in right now.
No, we got all day. What do you want to know?
What model is this? What's going on here?
Well, do you know the Johnny Cash song?
Which one?
Okay, well he sings a song about cars that are made up of a bunch of different cars.
Okay.
So I built this. It's my own
That's
creation.
cool.
I had a
Nice.
specific purpose that I was wanting to build it for.
Yeah.
And then I have a junkyard, so I gathered up components that would meet my
Excellent.
criteria.
Excellent.
And then I welded them all together and made my idea of a vehicle.
That's very cool.
I've been to California with it twice, up and down the East Coast many times, been all over the country with it.
Nice.
The hood is 10.5 feet forward of the windshield. The sun visor is an old 49 Cadillac hood.
Okay.
The motor's out of a school bus. Gotta love it.
Let us know if Andy's passion and ingenuity struck a chord with you by sharing in the comments below. And if you find yourself coming back to these videos, consider subscribing and hitting the notifications button. It not only helps the channel grow, but also supports the community here. We're committing 10% of our Google AdSense proceeds from this channel into programs in the Finger Lakes region, which will be matched by our partners over at Espoma Organic. So if you're keen to see this channel grow and you want to help to indirectly invest in the community, then we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and share these videos.